They come from big cities and small towns. Different backgrounds, different points of view. McDonald's All-American High School Band. 102 of the best high school musicians in America. 2 from each state and the District of Columbia. Selected from thousands of nominations by high school band directors. At first, everything is a little awkward, but they rehearse under the direction of Maestro Paul Laval. Practice on their own. Meals are shared. Friends are made. And the 102 individuals come together to become the best high school band in America. Each year, McDonald's All-American High School Band marches in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day and Tournament of Roses parades. We're very proud of them.
John Krantz, All-American, Nevada. Terry Ratliff, All-American, North Carolina. Christine Chapman, All-American, Michigan. They're part of an All-American team we can all be proud of. Ladies and gentlemen, the McDonald's All-American High School Band. 104 of our country's finest high school musicians. McDonald's salute to high school musicians everywhere.
Greetings from St. Louis, Missouri, home to the world champion St. Louis Baseball Cardinals, the Grammy Award-winning St. Louis Symphony Orchestra, the Stanley Cup champions, the St. Louis Hockey Blues, finally, and more importantly, home to the first gathering of the All-American Alumni Band. Good evening, my name is Allison Felter, and I, along with my fellow bandmate Mitch Kaufman, represented the great state of Kansas in the 1978-79 McDonald's All-American Band. As you can see, I'm in a very special place. This is ground zero for the national debut of the All-American Alumni Band. To get us in the spirit of tonight's event, I am standing on the very stage where just 1 year ago, the All-American Alumni Band made its national debut, with thousands of people in the audience. And I am standing on the Henry Shaw Bandstand, located in beautiful Tower Grove Park, which is one of 3 Victorian walking parks in the United States. It was a great day then, and I know there are many great days ahead for the band. But first, let's enjoy another groundbreaking event, our first ever Zoom reunion, featuring all of you. Tonight, we'll hear from several outstanding band alumni, special guests from Golin Communications, who were the heart and soul of the McDonald's All-American Band, and we have a few other surprises up our sleeves. So again, welcome, we're thrilled you're here, and now it's on with the show.
Hi, I'm Tim Scharnberg. In 1977, I represented the great state of Iowa by playing the trombone, and I live in Connecticut now. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. This is very exciting, and we're thrilled that you're all here. Let's take a moment and wave at each other. Excellent, excellent. I'd like to take this opportunity to have the board say hello and tell you a bit about each of themselves.
Hi, I'm Eileen Schaefers, and I represented the state of Oregon in '78, and I played clarinet, still play, in the '78 band. Go '78! Anyway, and I still live in Oregon.
Hi, I'm Carl Trevathan. I represented Kentucky in 1976, trombone player, and now live in Pensacola, Florida.
Hello again, I'm Allison Felter. I represented the state of Kansas in 1978, French horn player, and also still play.
Hi, I'm Donna O'Brien. I represented New Mexico in 1980 as a clarinetist, and I'm still a clarinetist today and a middle school band director in Arlington, Texas.
Hi, I'm Donna Bowers Bennett, and I represented the first state of Delaware in the 1980 band, playing clarinet and alto sax, and I now live in Mechanicsville, Maryland.
I'm Pete Goodman. I am from Michigan and represented Michigan in the 74 band, and I'm so glad you're all here.
Hello, I'm Keith Marks from Alabama. I was in the percussion section of the 1988 McDonald's All-American Band. I'm from the Mobile area, and I still live in the Mobile area today.
Hi, I'm John Parker. I was a drum major for the band. I was from Temple University, and I was in the band in 74, 75, and 76. And then after that, I was a staff member and chaperone for the band until 1979. I currently live in the Seattle area.
Thanks so much. Everyone has worked really hard to keep us moving forward, so it's really appreciated. Now we're going to jump right into our very first featured performance, the incomparable Wycliffe Gordon.
All right, this is Black and Blue, take 2. It's a little old Black and Blue. I just said that. Cold empty bed, springs hard as lead, just like old Ned, wished I was dead. What did I do to be so black and blue? Oh yes, oh babe, oh yes. Even the mouse ran from my house. They laughed at you and scorned you too. What did I do to be so black and blue? Well, now I'm white inside, but that don't help my case. I can not hide what is on my face. Oh baby, oh yes. How would it end? Ain't got no friends. You see, my only sin is in my skin. What did I do to be so black and blue? I picked up my trombone. Well, I can not hide what is on my face. Oh, yes, and yes, and how would it end? Ain't got no friends. You see, my only sin is in my skin. What did I do to be so black and blue? To be so black and blue. Yes, what did I do to be so black and blue? Baba do ba da so zaten. Black and blue. Black and blue.
Yeah, thank you, Wycliffe. Thank you. That's wonderful. Thank you so much. Hey, if you would unmute yourself, Wycliffe, and I believe that your wife and manager, April, is also here. April, if you could also unmute yourself so you can pop up in speaker view. What I'd love is if you could both tell us a little bit about how and where you met, because this is truly a story that's unique to the McDonald's All-American Band.
Ladies first.
Well, I don't think we have to guess. We met in the McDonald's band.
Woo!
Yes.
Yeah.
36 years ago. That's 2020 now. We were there in 1984 and 85. But of course, she played in the trumpet section. And the trumpet section players, they didn't talk to the low brass back then. So I knew her, but we reconnected about 7-8 years ago. And then we connected for good. It was
We did. But there's one discrepancy in what he just said. The trumpets, and you can see we won that year. Whoops, I've got to do the other side. Trumpets. And best playing trumpets. We won the award that year for the best section. So
that was still no reason to not speak to me anyway.
No, it's been a long road since then, but we reconnected about 10, 11 years ago. Yeah. I booked Wycliffe for a jazz festival that I was doing at my university, and we just reconnected, and it was all because of the McDonald's band, and I booked him because of the McDonald's band. So we continue to work with a lot of people with our business and with Wycliffe's business that we were in the band with, Ed Hirschman and Kenny Rampton and Jason Carter. I mean, there's a ton of us, we all seem to keep crossing paths in this business, the music business that we're all in. And I was with Wycliffe yesterday, but I had to come home for a family matter. And so I'm actually here in Kentucky. That's why we're on different screens. But it's great to see everybody, and I'm wearing my jacket, of course. Y'all can see it. It still fits.
I have my jacket. It doesn't fit anymore. But normally I'd be in. I was looking forward to doing I wanted to do it last year, but normally I am in Vail, Colorado, during the Labor Day for a festival. And this year I was actually going to come, and then COVID hit. But we get a chance to remind ourselves of how fun it was to be in the McDonald's band, because I think the first event we did was Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. And for the past 7 or 8 years, I've had a residency at Dizzy's, and we start on Wednesday night and we come down Columbus Avenue, and on the way down from the apartment in Harlem to Columbus Circle, you see them blowing up the floats, and then it happens that next day, and we just think, 25 years ago, and then before long, it was 27 years, 30 years now, And so it's been, the reunion is great. And I see Lindsey Sarjeant on here also, who's also my college band director or jazz instructor, and he also wrote for the band. I saw him on there somewhere, but he told us to move to the individual screens. But it's been great, and I'm happy I can participate in the reunion.
Well, listen, Wycliffe and April, thank you so much for joining us and telling your story again for those who didn't know it. And Wycliffe, thanks again for the great video. It's really a wonderful way to kick this off, so I appreciate it. So now I would like to go have John Parker take it away and talk to someone very special to this group. John.
Thank you, Kim. So we're really, really fortunate tonight to have Karen Golin join us today for this event. Hi, Karen. Can you say hi?
Now I can say hi.
All right, awesome. So Karen is the daughter, for those of you that don't know, Karen is the daughter of Al Golin. And really the McDonald's All-American Band was Al's brainchild. And it was really a family affair for these guys. I think you guys did the first 9 bands starting when you were in 5th grade. So I don't want to talk too much. I want to turn it over to you and hear about your experiences, what it was like interacting and being part of this tremendous group of people.
Okay, well, do I have to push a button or it automatically switches?
You're good. You're good.
So my dad and Paula Val got together, and I happened to talk to my mom. My mom is now 87. She's still alive and kicking. We lost my dad in April of 2017. And the one thing he always wanted to do is have the band start up again. So it meant a lot to him. first year, my brother and I were on a float with the Happenings. And if you remember, see you in September and all of that. So they were hot, and there were no balloons that year because it was raining. It was like 38 degrees and it was icy rain, and they had painted the float the day before, and we came covered in paint because it all washed off the float and onto us by the end of the parade. And I did contact one of the Happenings a few years ago, and I said, you won't remember me, but you'll remember the day we met. And he wrote me back this huge long letter on how much he'll never forget that day and how cold it was and everything else. So it was fun. I remember John Davison and Betty White coming to take pictures with all of the band members. I remember the first year, whoever was there was only was in the Macy's parade. And then they had some history. So then they were allowed into the Tournament of Roses parade. And the rule for the Tournament of Roses parade was that you couldn't repeat a band in consecutive years. And my dad says, well, it's the same name, but none of the members are the same because each year it's 2 new students from every, state in the union in Washington, D.C. So it's technically a different band. And that's how they got past the Tournament of Roses parade in order to get the band performing there too. My brother stayed in music. He runs Felix School of Rock in London. And they're doing Zoom teaching right now. So they're going through their whole thing over there. And I mean, my brother used to, when my family stopped coming, it took 15 people to do what my brother and I and my family did. So my brother would line up the hats. I don't know if I fitted any of you guys, but he would do the hat fitting first. Short people got tall plumes, tall people got short plumes. And then I did the overlays and the state stickers and check it off. And I would check many of you into your meals. I rode the buses with all of you. I usually hung out with the trombones and the percussion, those whatever. Paula Val always wanted me to play the flute. That never happened. I play a sewing machine. So, but I'm kind of like, if there's questions you have, I mean, we traveled with the band for 9 years, 8 out to California. My brother stayed out with the band at UCLA was the dorms that they stayed in, at least that I remember. But when I left for college in 75, that was the first year I didn't go. And it was kind of nice to come home to have an actual Thanksgiving. We used to, after we'd say goodbye to everybody, we'd go to one of my dad's best friend's houses in New York, and his wife was French. And so we would have beef bourguignon for Thanksgiving. And then we'd come home and my mom would make the traditional Thanksgiving dinner, but we never had the turkey on Thanksgiving. And we usually left on Friday to make sure everybody found flights home. So I remember listening to everybody coordinating all the flights and just getting everybody in. And I think, ironically, I became a high school teacher, but in order for me to do a field trip, it was every 10 to 15 students had to have a chaperone. Well, the first year of the band, we had 102 high school seniors, and there was one woman from my dad's office, Ginny, and my family. And then the band, and then Paula Val and the band and the marching director. That was it. And trust me, Paula Val was too Madonna to watch the students. So, but we also, and it was the 60s, but we didn't worry about it. We had absolutely no problem whatsoever. So it was a different time. It was a wonderful time to be involved with it. It was fun to hear the first flight for a lot of people, that they had never been on an airplane before. And it was just so wonderful to get to know everybody year after year. So I don't know if there's anything else any of you would like to know.
Yeah, if anybody has any questions, please type the questions in the chat box and we'll try to get
then
an
I have to
answer.
put my glasses on.
Uh-oh. Hey,
Uh-oh.
hey, Karen, I know you're not at home, but can you talk about some of the memorabilia things that you've collected? Because you have some neat stuff.
Yeah, I have a band uniform that has the old McDonald's golden arches. So that's the arch, the crisscrossing arch with the line going through it. And I sent you that picture. Did you get the picture of me, the one I just texted to you?
Yes, we have some of them we'll see later.
Oh, okay. So I'm looking for where I texted you, but I know it's, here we go. But I just found this one. I carried the banner for the band. So that's me.
Cool.
And I wore that costume year after year, and I cannot tell you how many layers I had underneath that. I had 3 pair of tights on, and I would have I would have 2 turtlenecks and a cami and all these other layers. So I was like 7 layers big by the time I got that vest on. So it was cold. You guys had pants on, I did not. So, but I actually paced the other people that carried the banner work for Macy's. And so I was the pacer because I wanted to stay within a certain distance of the band, but then if there was a huge gap, we had to kind of close the gap a little bit. So here's this kid, you know, remember my last year I was a high school senior, but here I'm in 5th grade and I'm telling all these adults how to pace themselves. I was definitely the one in charge the whole time. So it was kind of fun. So, but excellent. I have a uniform, I have jackets, I have, but I have a hat. I still have one of the hat, no plumes. I don't think the plumes survived. I think I have a suitcase somewhere. I've got, you know, I was there where, I don't know if anyone here was there for the filming of the recording of Doc Severinsen, but I sat up on the stage and this was a funny story. Doc Severinsen had that fabulous NBC peacock jacket. Remember the leather jacket? So I'm sitting up there and the jacket was a couple seats down. So they're playing and I move a seat and then I move another seat and I finally get to the jacket. And as I said, I sew. So I'm fascinated. I want to really take a good look at this. And he would come at break and move it. And then I move down again and pick up the jacket and look, because I just wanted to see the construction of it. So I think he was afraid I was going to destroy it, but I was just fascinated. So and we rode a limo with Betty White, which was really sweet. And she really is a national treasure. So.
Excellent. So do we have any, if we have any questions in the queue, Allison or Eileen, you want to jump in? If not.
I'm looking at a couple. I don't know if they're for me.
What years did you travel with the band, Karen?
From the first year to 1974-5 band, because I left for college. I went to University of Tennessee, Knoxville, because one of the band members was going there and couldn't talk up the University of Tennessee enough, and so I went and checked it out and wound up there. So it was because a band member had loved it so much that I wound up there. So
okay, I think we have time for one more question, if there is one more. Okay, excellent.
Okay.
Well, Karen, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing.
Oh, you're welcome.
Your amazing experience.
I'll mute myself.
Thank you, Karen. I really appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome.
And again, we're after the call is officially over. We're all hanging out, and so if you want to chat with any of the rest of us, we'd love to hear more stories, because I swear the hardest part of this reunion is going to be to limit people to telling stories, because I could listen all night. So thank you very much.
Right. Well, it was a huge part of my childhood. You know, you guys childhood.
Thank you. It's a very heartfelt message. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thanks.
I
So
will mute.
okay, thank you,
Thanks.
Karen. So next, I'd like to introduce our next featured video. It's by one of our stellar woodwind players. It's flutist and piccoloist. Is piccoloist a word? If it isn't, it is now. Deborah Yates. Here's Deborah Yates.
Hi, this is Deborah Yates, All-American Band, 78-79, Colorado, flute and piccolo. Wish we were all together this weekend playing music. In the meantime, I have a short history of music in the Labor Day movement in the United States. Hope you enjoy. Labor songs are traditionally signs of struggle and pride, looking for a better life and respect, and the hope for things that are going to get improved. Sometimes they represent old songs with new words, and one example is "We Shall Not Be Moved." It uses the music and many of the same words as an old religious song. Here's Mavis Staples.
We shall not be moved. We shall not be moved. We shall not be just like a tree that's planted by the water. We shall not be moved.
Many classic American labor songs came from the coal mines of the South. Mine owners bitterly opposed unions, and in some cases there was open war between labor activists and coal mine operators. Once, in Harlan County, Kentucky, company police searched for union leaders. They went to one man's home but could not find him, and so they waited outside for several days. But in the meantime, the coal miner's wife, Florence Reese, stayed inside with her children, and she wrote this song, "Which Side Are You On?" Listen now to Natalie Merchant.
Come all you good workers, good news to you I'll tell of how the good old Union has come in here to dwell. Which side are you on, boys? Which side are you on? Which side are you on, boys? Which side are you on?
Probably the most famous labor songwriter in America was Joe Hill. He was born in Sweden and came to the United States in the early 1900s. He worked as an unskilled laborer. Joe Hill joined the Industrial Workers of the World, otherwise known as the Wobblies, and more than any other union, they used music in their campaigns, urging members to fight and sing. One of Joe Hill's best-known songs is Casey Jones. It uses the music from a song about a train engineer. In the old song, Casey Jones is a hero. He bravely keeps his train running in very difficult conditions. But in Joe Hill's version, Casey Jones is no hero. His train is unsafe. Yet he stays on the job after other workers have called a strike against the railroad company, and we can hear what happens when Pete Seeger sings.
The workers on the SB line for strikes had out a call, but Casey Jones, the engineer, he wouldn't strike at all. His boiler, it was leaking, and the drivers on the bum, and the engines and the bear, and they were all out of plumb. Casey Jones kept his junk pile running. Casey Jones was working double time. Casey Jones got a wooden medal for being good and faithful on the SB line.
Another American labor song is called Bread and Roses, and that term was connected with the women's labor movement. The song was based on a poem called Bread and Roses by James Oppenheim, and the poem was published in the American Magazine in December of 1911. The following month, there was a famous strike by textile workers in Lexington, Massachusetts, and they won higher pay and better working conditions. But Oppenheim's poem gained more attention at that time. Conditions in factories were already a national issue, and in 1911, a fire at a clothing factory in New York has taken the lives of 146 people. The victims were pretty much only women immigrants. So listen now as we hear Judy Collins sing Bread and Roses. I hope you enjoyed this short musical history of Labor Day. The Smithsonian Folkways has some interesting books on troubadours and labor to talk about music and the labor movement, and I hope to see you soon playing again in the All-American Band. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Deborah. Yay. Round of applause. Thanks so much for doing that. It's not often I get to go to a reunion and learn something. So thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And thanks to John also for helping out with the recording and guitar. I appreciate it. Thank you. All right. So we hope to see you, Deborah, in person at our next gathering, which now it's the time for advertisements. Our next reunion will be in Columbus, Ohio on Memorial Day weekend 2021. And we're also going to include the Worthington Centennial Celebration Parade. So please mark your calendars as we look forward to next year. And we're also going to go, right now, we're going to have Pete Goodman jump in and share some news with us. Pete?
Hi, everybody. Just wanted to bring to everybody's attention, if they have not heard, Dr. Al Wright, band director emeritus from from Purdue University, passed away in the last few days at 104 years old. I know Al was heavily involved prior to my time in the band, which was 74. All indications are he could have been there from 67 through 73 as the marching director. But he just passed away in the last few days, and I just wanted to make sure that we acknowledge his involvement. Thank you.
Each year as we gather for this affair, we manage to talk about some of our favorites that we see from one year to the next. One of our real favorites is coming down the pike right now. The outstanding McDonald's All-American High School Band, led each and every year by its very fine director, Dr. William Foster.
Thank you, Bryant. Today marks the 17th annual performance by the McDonald's All-American Band in this great event. But of course, it's the first time for each of the 104 young musicians who are here today. So you can imagine how excited they are. 2 of them have been selected from each state of the Union and Washington, D.C., as well as a member each from the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico.
Exclusive parade coverage continues. The Radio City Music Hall Rockette, Lou Rawls, and Broadway hit My One and Only. All this and more coming up.
Thanks. Lou Rawls is here. No, actually, Lou Rawls is not here, but I'm very excited to have a special guest with us tonight. We have the current creative director of the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, Mr. Wesley Whatley. Hey, Wesley.
Hey, everybody. How's it going? Happy Labor Day.
Great. Thank you.
Oh, my gosh. It's my pleasure. Thanks for giving me like 3 minutes. I just wanted to say, gosh, what a pleasure. First of all, you guys sounded great in that clip. Like, excellent intonation. Amazing. Thanks for just a few minutes. I just want to say how inspired we are. Those of us who are still running the parade. I mean, it is a passion. It's a passion job. I'm sure you guys can understand. Like, I grew up playing in marching band. I was an alto sax player. I was drum major sophomore, junior, senior year, then a bassoon major in college, eventually a vocal degree. But music is my heart. And as a producer of the show, music has become and really is my forte for the parade itself. And the marching band program is my pride and joy. I love it so much because of what it did for me as a young kid. And I know what it did for each of you, some of the finest players in your state and across the US. Not only them, but I'm sure you guys are playing for each other beautifully. But as I've spoken to some of the leadership, I just wanted to offer my thanks for you guys, your enthusiasm, the fact that you're making this happen for yourself. It is so inspiring to us. And as we look to the 100th parade in just a couple of years, we're going to be looking to you to come back and to celebrate the history that is yours. Woo! It's yours for sure. So I just wanted to take a few minutes. Is that good?
That's awesome. Wesley, thank you so much for joining us tonight and to finally get to meet you, at least virtually. So this is really, really wonderful. And we look forward to continuing the conversations going towards the future. So thanks again, Wesley. You have a great night.
We do as well.
Thanks.
Of course. Thank you guys so much. Enjoy.
Okay, take care. Thank you. So I want to find out if Bob Curnow happens to be here. Bob, are you here? If you are, please unmute yourself and say hello.
I'm here.
Yes, all right. So for those of you who don't know, Bob Curnow was the McDonald's All-American Jazz Band Director from 1981 to 1989, and I've known Mr. Curnow's name forever, being a trombone player and having lived in LA for a long time. Our paths didn't cross, but we just wanted to have you say hello, and if you want to share your favorite story, I'd love to hear it.
Thanks. This is really exciting. I'm assuming you can hear me.
Yes.
Yes, good deal. Geez, my favorite moment, holy cow, in 9 years, there were so many. And I think my favorite moment for me was always stepping out in front of the jazz band and looking at those faces and knowing how hard all those characters worked to produce the sound that they did every time that we performed, whether it was on the Jerry Lewis telethon or whether it was on a summer tour. And we did that a couple of times where we toured for, I don't remember, I think it was 5 or 6 weeks, and played every day at least once, sometimes twice a day, all over the country. And it would be mind-boggling, I think, for most of you if you knew the names of the people that were in that band who have gone on to have wonderful professional careers. Wycliffe being one of them, of course. Wycliffe was kind of out of tune tonight, but
don't tell him. I don't know if he's still here.
Oh, he's watching.
Oh, no.
He knows. Wycliffe was here about a year ago. He's one of the few band members that I've seen recently. And we sat on the porch and just let it all hang out and talk about all the different things. It was wonderful. But the jazz band idea, and I'm not sure where that came from or whom it came from, was a spectacular idea. And it was, I've heard it countless times from dozens and dozens of men and women in the band who have gone on to do what they're doing. That was really the seminal time for them to realize that they had talent, that they could move forward with it, and perhaps as a couple of years went by, decide to make a career out of it. Now, there are many teachers, music teachers, that came out of the McDonald's band. I'm sure many, many hundreds. But out of the jazz band came quite a few, again, men and women who had decided to make a career as jazz performers, whether it was recording jazz or performing jazz, as Wycliffe did. So it's very, very exciting to see that happen over the years. I'm very proud of them, and I'm saying hello to all of them. I don't know who's out there. God bless you all. And Kim, God bless you and everyone else that managed to put this extraordinary event together. I'm very happy to have figured out how to join you.
Bob, thank you so much for being here tonight. We really appreciate it. It was a nice surprise to have your interest in here, and I hope that we're going to be able to get the band back together and have you out to lead a jazz band component in one of our future reunions. So thanks again. I really appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me.
All right. So next we have back to John Parker to introduce our next guest. It's like hit after hit here, John. There you go.
Thank you. This is so much fun. I got to tell you guys. So I'm really excited to chat with our next two guests, Pat Healey Sproul and Chuck Ebeling. Welcome, Pat and Chuck. You guys can unmute. You there?
Okay, I'm unmuted, I think.
I gotcha.
All right. Hi, guys. Hi, everybody.
Chuck, you with us? Okay, he was.
He was, yeah.
Okay. Well,
Wait a minute.
Catch it. Oh, there we go. Hey, Chuck. Haha. There you are. Welcome.
Thank you.
So, I hope everybody had a chance to read these guys' bios because they just both had exceptional careers, and we could spend the whole time just reading their bios because they're pretty fabulous. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about their time with McDonald's All-American High School Band. And Chuck and Pat both started in '74, right? And Chuck was with the band for 8 years and Pat 14 years. Amazing.
13 or
So we had a chance to talk last week, and we kind of want to have this a loose conversation. I'll kind of kick it off, and then you guys just run with it. But
sure.
Chuck, maybe you can kind of start us off. We talked a lot about what made this band program so unique for its time. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure, John. When I started in '74 with Golin and took responsibility for coordinating the band program, which had been handled, as Karen discussed, by the Golin family up to that point, there were 3,000 McDonald's restaurants around the world, and it was just about the first time that McDonald's could truly be said to be an all-American company, somebody doing business almost everywhere that people lived. And McDonald's franchisees were often new to the business, even new to the communities they were living in, and they needed advice and help in terms of how to build relationships, meaningful relationships with their customers and the people that would support them. And Al and Paul Lavelle came up with this perfectly timed idea of creating the McDonald's All-American High School Band, because we had an ability to ask for nominations all across the country, and then Paul and his selection committee would pick not only what they thought were the top musicians based on recordings and recommendations that they sent in, but also they had to be able to comprise a band, so they needed the right instrumentation. And so, the next thing we knew, we were helping these local franchisees do congratulatory and send-off parties for band nominees and selected band members, and it gave them a relevant presence in their local communities that reached schools and reached leaders and reached families, and also young people who in some ways were near the core of McDonald's business. So it was a wonderful opportunity, a genius stroke, if you will, by Al and Paul. And I came on in the summer of '74, and Pat not long after. And we both went to work on the band project, neither of us having any background in it. I knew nothing about music. My only experience with things like that was when I was a young officer at the Army War College, and I directed ceremonies and parades and so forth there. But there's a lot different than band musicians and the band culture, which I learned a lot about and learned to really enjoy and love, as Pat can tell you. Pat, do you want to make some comments?
Hi, everybody. It's been a long time for a lot of us to see one another. You know, I can only underscore what Chuck is saying in terms of what a remarkable initiative the band was for McDonald's in terms of just building relationships in the community and building relationships with schools at a time when corporations weren't allowed to have really any presence in schools in their communities. And this was a way, as Chuck mentioned, for the franchisees to make the connections to the schools and to even get established in communities, you know, building reputations. Because it wasn't just when the members, the 102 members were selected, it was all the things that went before in terms of the call for nominations going out, and then the nominating process and the communication with the band directors. And it was a very rich time and a rich ability to build those relationships. And, you know, all I remember is, I think I'm still really tired from all of the chaperoning I did for those 14 years. I didn't get a lot of sleep. But yeah, it was, and to Chuck's point, I am not a musician. Other than appreciate music, I don't know the first thing about music, but I came to just absolutely love, you know, band music and the jazz band. And, you know, Chuck and will tell you that I was probably the biggest cheerleader for the band program for the time that I was with Golin Harris. And I love what you guys are doing, and to see it reinstated and to be reinitiated, because I think there's so much to offer here.
So yeah, Pat, I got to ask you a question. How was it that you were able to connect with all the kids? It seemed like you knew everybody's name.
Well, here's a little secret. I would sit with the list of the names and where everyone was from and the instrument, you know, they played, and I worked hard to learn people's names with their photos, so that when folks arrived in New York, many of whom had never traveled before, when they could be greeted in person and personally. And that was something that was very important to me. And so I worked hard at it. I just, you know, and luckily, I think maybe because it resonated with me, it wasn't a chore. It became something I really enjoyed doing. It was also, you know, remember when your mom, if you're doing something wrong and your mom can call you out by your name, you got to remember that, guys.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hey, can you guys talk a little bit about McDonald's management's involvement and support for the band and the franchisees, and I mean during the actual, especially with the franchisees during the actual weeks of the band events? How involved were they, and how supportive of the band were they?
Yeah, John, originally, when Pat and I joined in '74, the people at Golin really ran the whole band program from one end to the other than the musical portion, which was Paul Lavelle and his assistants. As the years went by, McDonald's Corporation got excited because we were excited about the band program. and we started to have experts in meetings and conventions and security and logistics and in all those areas get involved and actually come out to New York and LA with us. And then I don't know, I think it might have even been Pat's suggestion that we started to invite some franchisees to come out either by themselves or with their families and experience a week with a band in New York or LA. And these people became our best cheerleaders in the whole McDonald's system. They came away saying, I can't believe how exciting this was, how proud I was to be involved in it, even on the edges of the thing. And it made them proud to be a McDonald's person. And they also got close to the roots of national publicity and so forth that we were responsible for, in addition to the band marching stuff itself and the relationships with Macy's and the networks and the news media and all of that. So it escalated in interest and participation. McDonald's had a growing PR staff in the 70s. They started with one person, and I think they had 15 or 20 by the end of the 70s. And matter of fact, I left Golin after 7.5 years and went to another company for a few years and came back as director of communications for McDonald's and stayed there until the millennium, and retired as vice president of communications and chief spokesman for the brand. So it was unfortunate that the band program had to go under. It was essentially and really only the escalating cost, the enormous cost of travel and hotels, and we no longer could rationalize millions of more additional dollars by the early 90s.
One of the things I wanted to ask you guys about was, where did we come up with the ideas, other than doing Macy's and the Roses Parade, to do some of these other concerts? We did Orchestra Hall, and I think we did one in Boston, and we did we did Carnegie Hall, of course. But who came up with the ideas on doing some of these other things?
Well, the bicentennial was a big year, and at Golin we were charged with helping McDonald's figure out how to celebrate the bicentennial of America, and we thought, well, the All-American Band's got to be part of that. So we did a big concert tour that year. In addition to the parades, we went up to Liberty Square in Philadelphia and performed outdoors. We went to the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C., which was really moving. I mean, I can still remember looking out from backstage across all those band members and their overlays and their hats, and thousands of people in the audience at the Kennedy Center. You know, this was big time. Yeah. And then going out and we did Balboa Park in San Diego, and we did the Orchestra Hall in New York. Yes. And then were the Carnegie Hall concerts, which to me was tremendously moving. I mean, you see these kids up there on stage where the greatest musicians of the world had performed. I remember one year we had Lionel Hampton as a special guest performer. And my claim to fame was I got to go on stage with Lionel during rehearsal and play the kazoo with him. And but that was just a personal thing. But those things were thrilling, and then there was the Jerry Lewis Labor Day Telethon with the jazz band, where Jerry Lewis vamped with the kids in the band, and the band could do almost anything. But I'll bring it back to the small pieces. I always remember at the Sheraton Hotel, where the band was based in New York, for the first time they got together. And they would go through all these individual parts and so forth. And in one of the Sheraton ballrooms, the first time that Paul LaBelle would lift up his baton and the whole band played together for the first time, I mean, we were laughing and crying, and to me, it was just magic,
Mm-hmm.
what these kids could do, as we've been hearing along the way. So I'm not exaggerating. Those were special moments.
Absolutely. The first downbeat, and it always gave you chills. And like you said, Chuck, it brought tears to your eyes. And I was always in awe of how the band members could come together in a week, not only playing the music, but marching in pretty good step, you know, and the times at the Armory. And forgive me, but before Dr. White, our marching director was Kelly. Chuck, help me, or John, with Kelly's last
from
name.
UCLA.
From UCLA, right? And you know, it's obviously such skill to be able to coordinate and to choreograph, you know, the marching, and Lindsey Sarjeant's, you know, arrangements, and Bob Curnow's arrangements for the jazz band. You know, in awe of all of the not only the talent of the young people, but the talent of those who were leading the program musically, and from a choreography perspective. And you know, nobody's going to know this but me, but when we played at Carnegie Hall, and I don't know if it was Lionel Hampton's or with Maynard Ferguson, but I had to pull out every ounce of my public relations nous and charm, because the union head, which was union number 1, the oldest and first union in New York City, was going to shut us down because somehow we had not done what we were supposed to do. God, don't ask me what it was. All I can tell you is my life was flashing before my eyes because I saw the whole stage going black. That was, and I don't know if any of you guys remember, but I don't know if it was the first year that we did the Fiesta Bowl, but we had flown into Arizona, and we were flying from LA to Phoenix, and we had loaded all our instruments, the big instruments, onto a truck, and the truck got wedged in an overpass at LAX, and the instruments never made the flight. So that was another moment when my life flashed before my eyes. And I think Kelly had a contact at the University of Arizona, and they either loaned us the instruments or our instruments made it in the nick of time. But there are some things behind the scenes that, you know, you're like a duck. You're on the top of the water and you look like you're going along just fine, and yet you're paddling like hell beneath.
You know, Pat, I remember too, one year the instruments for the Macy's parade, the big instruments had not arrived on time. And Frank Guyan, who was the PR manager for McDonald's, and I got in a van to meet a plane at midnight out at LaGuardia Field, and hand load the instruments onto the van and get them down there in time. And but we had a wonderful relationship with Yamaha.
Yes,
provided the big instruments in the later years, and my largest prize from the band era is the 5.7-inch grand Yamaha piano that we have in our condo in Chicago, which was I never would have gotten it if it weren't for the band. So anyway, I remember also marching in all kinds of weather, and there were a number of occasions where some of the staff members would march along with the band, and we were carrying ponchos and things like that and throwing them to band members and helping them drape them over their heads. And I remember Paul Lavelle riding in the world's largest drum, which was about 12 feet tall. And there was a ladder up the middle, and it was pouring rain, and he's directing, and the box he was standing in was filling up with water, and he was only 5 feet tall, and he was kicking water at us, yelling, "Do something!" And we just kind of laughed and ducked our heads.
Chuck. Hey, Chuck.
Yeah.
There's somebody special in your life that had involvement with the band too, right?
Well, yeah. When we started in '74, it was already summer, and one of the first things we had to worry about was transportation for all these band members and the staff people to New York and LA. And so my best friends became the gals at the travel agency that were already working on this. And one of them, Vicky, who was managing Border Trade Travel, and then the next year went over and founded her own agency. She and I worked so closely together that we got married in 1978. So, and she had to give up the band account and McDonald's account because it was perceived as a conflict of interest by the client. So she gave up her biggest account by far. And later she told me it was the nicest thing I ever did for her because McDonald's was so damn demanding, meaning me.
Hey guys, that's fabulous. Thank you so much. And before we go, I would be remiss if I didn't mention that Chuck has written a book that has a chapter in it about the All-American Band, right, Chuck?
Well, the chapter is actually about my years at Golin, but it's got a number of references to the band. Here it is. It's available on Amazon. I don't know if you can see it, but anyway, it's a beautiful book, hardbound, softbound, online. Get a copy. It's called Apple Pressings.
Okay, great. Hey, thank you guys. I'm so glad you hung in there with us. Apologize again for the slight glitch, and I'll turn it back
fun, right?
Yeah, turn it back to Kim.
Thank you so much, Pat and Chuck. Thank you so much. And again, we'll be hanging out after this call's over about 1 a.m. or so. No. So Larry, thanks so much. And thank
Sure.
your daughter, Megan, for joining us as well. That was awesome. And where did you find that McDonald's sign? That was incredible.
Well, you know, I picked it off out of a garbage heap and it just fit perfectly on my forehead. It worked out.
Well, fashion is everything. So, and also if you want to send Megan to Connecticut, I could probably use a trim at this point, 6 months in. So, hey, thanks again for sending the video and joining us tonight. I really appreciate it.
Sure.
Thank
My
you.
pleasure.
So, Donna O'Brien, are you with us? Are you in attendance?
I'm here. I don't know if Dr. White or Mr. Sarjeant are on.
Are they in attendance, Dr. Sarjeant? Or Mr. Sarjeant, Dr. White? If you could unmute and say hello if you're here.
I think they're getting back on. I just sent them.
Yes, I am here.
Oh,
Yay.
great.
All right.
Well,
Did
great.
Dr. White make it back?
I hope so.
Yes, I sent him the same stuff. You guys watch for him and we can just keep going, I guess?
Yeah, I was
Is
gonna
that
say if you want to go ahead and we'll keep an eye out and let you know when
Okay.
Dr. White makes it in. But Mr. Sarjeant, we'd love to have Donna talk to you
Yes.
for a few. Thanks.
Oh, sure.
Everybody knows the infamous Lindsey Sarjeant. He's currently a professor of music at A&M University and the music department chair head. He's a professor of jazz studies and composition. And we were delighted that he said yes to come talk to us tonight. A lot of us remember him as one of the directors on staff. I certainly do. Made a huge difference and impact in my time as a McDonald's All-American Band student. He was willing to share. We could ask him any question. I remember him being very picky about the memorization of the music, especially with the trumpet section. I don't know why I remember that, but my shout out to the trumpets of 1980. But I was going to ask Mr. Sarjeant and Dr. White some questions. I remember both of you so well. You were energetic. Your standards were high and stellar. Talk to us about your duties. Like what did you do for the McDonald's band as a staff member? And how did you get the gig?
Well, first of all, let me just say hello to everyone. And it is good to see these familiar faces 40 years later for a lot of us. Yes, McDonald's band I was very privileged to work with Dr. William P. Foster. When he was hired to do the McDonald's band in 1979 was his first year. And one of the first things he wanted to do, he wanted to create a band of excellence. He thought that the band should consist of the top performing high school musicians in the country.
So when you guys met with him, I know that we did auditions, both sent in, and we did auditions for chairs when we were there. What else did you do besides the auditioning and all the stuff we saw you running around? I remember you warming us up, and I remember you doing stuff.
But being the one reason why I was hired, because Dr. Foster wanted me to be the arranger. He wanted me to write all the music to have a certain kind of sound out of the McDonald's band. And I agreed to do it. I was very young then. I'd only been on the staff for about 4 years, because I started as a professor at age 23, believe it or not. I was a college professor at age 23, so I was very, very honored. And when Dr. Foster got the gig, of course, he brought me along in 1979, and he brought Dr. White on in 1980. I think that's really. But what we did, we not only auditioned, I think I auditioned about 2,000 trumpets and about 3,000 horns. And we had to select top horn players and trumpet players. Then Dr. White would take it and shuffle it around. And out of my first maybe 25 or 50, he would select the McDonald's All-American High School Band.
I remember these were before the days of the Finale software.
That's
and
correct.
There was something that Dr. Foster wanted, some jingle at the time that was, so you would be writing on this napkin, so to speak, and you would disappear and come back. And then we had it on a piece of paper. That's amazing to me now as a band director. like that you could have done that so fast with
Everything was done by hand.
a napkin.
Everything was done by hand. And of course, all the music was written way ahead of time because we sent it out to you all. Remember, we sent you all the music about a month before you all came to New York. And that was always exciting. It was always exciting. You know, whenever I hear a good band play my arrangements, it's always exciting. And the thing that I liked about the McDonald's band, because the McDonald's band for the 11 years that I did it from 1979 until 1991. In those years, the McDonald's band rivaled any college band. I'm serious. They had the musicians were just that strong. You know, we have a college band at Florida A&M, and I tell you, man, the McDonald's gave them a run for their money in terms of just basic musicianship.
You mentioned that you got several Florida A&M students, recruited them from the McDonald's All-American High School band, like Wycliffe.
Wycliffe was one of them. There's several of them. Ben Tankard, you remember Ben Tankard?
Can you tell the story about Wynton Marsalis and kind of that little thing that you told me not too long ago?
About, Wynton came to our school, and I picked Wynton up because he was giving a performance. He was giving a performance at Florida A&M. And I picked him up from the airport and took him to the hotel. And he said, Lindsey, where are you going? I said, I'm going to jazz band rehearsal. He said, well, I want to go with you. And so when he came to jazz band rehearsal, one of my trumpet players didn't show up for rehearsal, played third trumpet. And Wynton said, well, I'll go back there and play the third trumpet part. I said, okay, that's cool. And he played the third trumpet, and all of a sudden, I played this tune called Freight Train, and Wycliffe Gordon stood up and played a solo. And Wynton was so impressed. And after that rehearsal, he said, who is the world is that trombone player? I said, well, that's nobody but Wycliffe, Wycliffe Gordon. And he said, one day he's going to be in my band. And 3 or 4 months later, he called him, told him to come to New Orleans, and the rest is history.
Wow. Hey, I think I just saw Dr. White. Did he have his blues on? Dr. White!
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Look at you. Oh my gosh. The marching band director right here. You were the one that made us stay in step and do our parts correctly. And you were always saying, get that music memorized, get that music memorized. How's it going?
Going along very well. I'm certainly honored to be here with you.
You're retired, so what are you doing?
Well, I'm retired now, but I've done quite a bit of guest conducting and clinics and writing on a couple of books. So I'm still pretty busy.
Can you believe that we did the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade back then with very few armed guards? I think there were a couple, but it was pre-9/11, pre-COVID, pre-everything.
Absolutely, we did. We didn't have any kind of security, and didn't did we?
No. Well, Dr. White, tell us about your favorite McDonald's memory, if you can think of something unique that happened or something that you want to share with us.
Well, there's so many things that I could share with you in this short period of time. First of all, I want to express appreciation to Chuck and Pat. And I put a band uniform together, and I hope McDonald's don't dock me for anything because I put this on.
You mean it still fit?
And I was Karen and her brother helping the band out so much, getting things started. And really, it was just a very fine experience. And now to see the band having gone full circle, and it's the kind of thing we talk about in music education classes, that we want to build musicians, yes, too, but we want to build just consumers of music. And to see all of the various professions that are our former band members there really is a great deal of pride. And so I worked with the band 1 year with Paul Yoder before Dr. Foster came on, and that was really a great experience. Paul, just the kind of hero that he was for all of us as musicians. But then Dr. Foster took over, and he asked if I could write trills. And I was a drill writer for the Florida A&M band, so that was not a problem for me. And I came on to write the drills for the band. And we started doing some kind of drills we call multi-drills, precision drills and multi-drills. And we did those, and the live audience and Dick Snyder, who was the producer, really liked what we were doing. So we started doing those pre-drills over a period of time. And in fact, now, most of the bands now use that format that we use with the McDonald's band. And just interesting enough that drill that we saw a little bit before, Lindsey, you might remember that it wasn't what Dick Snyder wanted. And he said, and Pat Healey, Pat, you all said, we want the band to come up in two lines, and then so that they could see all the states. Well,
that's right.
I said to Dick, I don't know if we can do that. And he said, I don't care if you can do it or not, just do it.
He did say that. He did say that.
Yeah, so
they wanted to see the faces of the students.
We were commenting on that video yesterday in our practice run about how cool the parents must have thought that was to see their kids, because you truly could see the states every two people. That was brilliant. I'm telling you, Mr. Sarjeant and Dr. White, you would have been so proud 1 year ago today. And I know there were many people that couldn't make it and were there all heart, but they got together and we rehearsed, and some of the people in the group conducted, and I wasn't sure quite what to expect. And I mean, there were tears the first rehearsal. It was totally amazing. It was totally amazing. Doctors, lawyers, band directors, all kinds of professional accountants, all kinds of people. You would have been very proud of them. Just how they still acted and everything. They were actually pretty good in rehearsal.
Indeed. Well, carry over too from the rehearsal, because I was always amazed, Donna, that they could come in and memorize, that you all could come in and memorize all of that music and all that drill. Remember, in the armory, we practiced, and we got it all down in one full day. And I always thought that was pretty amazing.
You guys were pretty patient with the high school kids, just learning your routine in the parade, which was something you had to remember too. And then the music. I remember being amazed that I saw Lindsey Sarjeant's name on a piece of music, and I'm like, wait a minute, that's him. He just warmed us up. Like, like what? I was 17. What can I say? I thought it was like amazing.
Yes. We enjoyed our time with the McDonald's band. We really did. We did it for 11 years. And we did a concert at Carnegie Hall concert.
Yes.
And of course, we did several concerts in Orchestra Hall.
Orchestra Hall in Chicago.
In Chicago, Orchestra Hall. And then we would always leave the day after Christmas and go to Phoenix, Arizona to do the Fiesta Bowl. You would leave Fiesta and go to California and do the Rose Bowl.
And you guys did the Orange Bowl once, or were you with the jazz band?
No, I wasn't with the jazz band, no.
Okay. Can you guys talk a little bit? I mean, this was the 80s kind of, at least for my year, but with what's going on in our world today, like all the rioting and all the what we just experienced on that Zoom call, kind of the world and the state that it's in. What kind of diversity, I mean, what did you guys try to do diversity-wise? Because I remember there was quite a bit in the McDonald's band. Just talk a little bit about the diversity factor being from Florida A&M and your roles as leaders in this group.
Okay, in fact, I'll start it off. McDonald's never did say anything to us about diversity, but being the kind of musicians that we are, we thought that the band, since it's the McDonald's All-American High School Band, it should reflect the population of America.
Yes.
So we set out to inform minority band directors of this opportunity. And would you all please get students ready to take the auditions? And it worked because we had several students. In fact, we had diversity in every band. And
yes,
lower the standards. In fact, I can remember conducting on a band. Wycliffe Gordon was a trombone player in the band, and I said to Wycliffe and to his band director, why don't you all audition for the marching band? And he did and made it. So we had diversity, but we never lowered the standards.
That's correct.
You're right. That's really cool, and that's something I'm kind of proud of now. How about you guys?
Very proud, yes indeed.
You know, one of the things that McDonald's, well, Dr. Foster convinced the people at Golin Harris and McDonald's, that he said it wasn't enough to have a good musician on paper. He wanted to actually hear the musicians. So we were able to field a band full of first chair players.
Yes.
Which means that the last chair player can very well play first chair. And I thought that was exciting for high school students.
You guys really, you were ahead of your time. I mean, in your 20s, I think about, you know, I'm a middle school band director now. I wonder what I would have done, you know, as a staff member. That would have been so daunting. But you were already young college professors, and we were so lucky to cross paths with you, Dr. Wright and Mr. Sarjeant. I mean, I think about you guys all the time. And we talked about you last year over and over. And I know Keith Marks and I have a lot of memories, especially with Mr. Sarjeant, well, and Dr. Wright too, just with the marching. I mean, you guys were phenomenal, and it was so neat that you were willing to talk to us. You weren't standoffish. You were right there, and you got on us if we needed to, like, hey, you don't have this part memorized. We were standing right behind you. Got to get this part memorized. Like talking to different sections, and you were picky, and you were all about the work, and it just made it more excellent. So it's something I'm so proud of.
It was very important that we set an example, you know, for the high school kids, because they were like 17, some were 18 years old. Most were just 17 going into their senior year. And so it was very important that we all set an example. Myself, Jay Wanamaker was on staff, along with Charles Bean. You know,
wow.
If you remember Charles Bean.
Yes.
And Laura Brass, and of course Dr. Foster, Julian White, the five of us, and we call ourselves the Foster Five.
I love it. I love it. I would like now to introduce Donna Bennett, who will tell you a little bit something about her fabulous project that she put together for us. Donna Bennett.
Thanks, Kim. And thank you, everybody. You know, good evening. Really appreciate everybody that was able to send in pictures. It was a lot of fun seeing all the cool pictures from all the years that people sent in. And one of the things I was thinking about is everybody talks about what an influence being in the McDonald's band was for them. And so I thought it would be interesting to look at where did some of us go after we were in the McDonald's band. So I hope you enjoy.
Yes, Donna Bennett, great job, great job.
Thanks,
Thank-
Kim. Thank you
Ah.
for all your pictures.
Wonderful, everybody. If everybody was able to contribute, thank you so much. And you know, the other cool thing, Donna, is that everybody looks the same. It's just amazing.
Yeah, nobody aged a bit.
So thanks again. I'd now like to introduce Keith Marks, who is our resident video editor and rectangle organizer. And Keith assembled all of the Centennial March videos that were sent in. So Keith, that must have taken you like an hour or two to do, right? Is that right?
Oh, more like a month or two. It was a lot of fun to do and a lot of stress at the same time, if that's possible. And Kim is so modest. Let me just take a minute to say that Kim not only was the composer of the Centennial March, as most of you know, but he also added his expertise to the audio. So I assembled all the videos, but he assembled the audio and we put it together in what I believe is an awesome first virtual band performance for the All-American Band Alumni. And I said I wasn't going to say this, but if I misspelled any of your names or put the wrong information, please forgive me. I'll do better next time. But hopefully you'll have fun with it anyway. And I also said I wasn't going to say this, but Take it away, Carl.
That is awesome. Let's give a big hand for Keith. Yay, Keith. That was really cool. You know, I think we started texting maybe once a week when we first started doing this, and then it got to be a couple times a week. And then the last week, I think we were texting like every single hour. Like, hey, what are we doing?
That's right.
And making sure that we had everybody and assembling all the tracks and everything. So it was really cool. So everybody who contributed, thank you very much for taking the time to do that. I really appreciate it.
Definitely.
Like I said before, that this is all going to be watchable on our Facebook page. And then also you can look on our website, which is www.allamericanalumniband.org, and also on our YouTube channel. And in case I forgot to mention it, our next in-person reunion is in Columbus, Ohio, over Memorial Day weekend 2021. And I know that especially Carl put a huge amount of work into putting the Columbus program together, and hopefully Wycliffe's schedule will allow him to come back or to show up and there's no virus for us to contend with, because we'd like to keep practicing and do the exact same program that we'd intended for Columbus. And I also know that the Worthington, Ohio folks are planning on holding their centennial parade at 101 years, and in order to kick that off, and I know they're excited that we're willing to come back. So we're keeping our plans. We're sticking with it. I don't know if the airlines will still accept our flights in, but it's worth a try. Let's see. And before we say goodnight, we have a few more things. We're going to take another look at our very first reunion, which was just over a year ago, or maybe it was exactly a year ago, I'm not sure. And that was our first reunion of many more to come. So here we go with our video from last year.
The best group, I think, as far as music is concerned, in all America. One of the greatest magnetic groups that's ever put together in such a short period of time. You're about to see the McDonald's All-American Marching Band.
My experience with the McDonald's Band was so much fun. First of all, it was an honor to be one of two people from every state
in the union.
It was so striking to me that these musicians were clearly the best in their local programs, but when they came together for the McDonald's band, they realized how much talent was in the room.
And it was so amazing for me to come and sit down with this band when I was 17. And when you start playing music, we sounded professional. And I was just blown away. It gave me goosebumps.
Performing in the Macy's parade was just the most magical thing.
Back in '78, it was a highlight of my life, in fact.
I definitely feel like it was a transforming moment for me. I spoke about it for years, have shared stories about it with my own children who are both musicians themselves.
The band today is made up of some people who are professionals and have stayed in music, and then there are other people who haven't played in several years.
I had to start with, 20-minute practice sessions with scales. But I tell you, I've come a long way, and it's been a really fun and exciting adventure for me.
The first time I picked up a horn after all those years, it was tough going. I almost threw the horn in a river, but I'd borrowed it, so I couldn't do that.
I was astounded. So clearly people really, really worked hard.
All of these people are still passionate about music, passionate about this band experience, and we can get out there and with not a whole lot of work, polish up our chops, get out there, play some great music, do a march, and celebrate the excitement of what was that adventure all those years ago in our childhood.
The experience this weekend has been really phenomenal. To play this kind of music with these kind of people, it's been very moving.
I've watched that parade way before I actually got into bands, and I've watched it since I've been in the band, so to actually have that experience again would just be out of this world.
It is a representation of music for life, that the experiences we had when we were in high school still live with us today, are still a part of our passion, and music has accompanied us for our entire life. It's more than just a nostalgic callback to when we used to be in the parade, but it's a reminder to all of us how music can bring us together.
That was really cool. Thanks. It was great seeing that again. So thanks for showing that again. And I hope that we can all gather in Columbus, and if we can get back to St. Louis, we know where to stay. We know where the Dunkin' Donuts is. Carl, if you don't know, Carl will show us where the Dunkin' Donuts is. That was really cool. I loved hearing the sousaphones on Healey's Heroes. Boy, that was pretty awesome. Right at this point, I would like to thank our featured performers, and we had Wycliffe Gordon, Deborah Yates, Larry Munoz, and also our guests April Brumfield, Karen Golin, Wesley Whatley, Bob Curnow, Pat Healey Sproul, Chuck Ebeling, Mr. Lindsey Sarjeant, and Dr. Julian Wright. And I'd really like to thank all of you for being here tonight and for hanging in. I really, really love everyone being here tonight, and those of you could make it back in. It's really cool. So as we end our evening's festivities, I'd like to see a show of hands. Who would like to see the Centennial March video one more time? I know I would. I'm going to raise my hand. Anybody else? 1737. Thank you very much. Thank you, Keith, for putting our little funny reel together and featuring our marchers. So I would like to thank everybody again for joining tonight. If you can hang out for a little while, we're going to be here just hanging out too. But let's all wave good night, just like we all waved hello. And we hope to see you again in person, and we'll have more fun. So thanks again for coming tonight. I appreciate it. See ya.